Hey everybody, how are you? Let me see. I got a new camera and I want to see if it will work without being dark. Mm, let's see. Can y'all see me? Hey Kay, how are you? Let me see. This is the old camera. I don't know. Let me use the new camera. And I thought I worked it out before I started, but apparently, no. It looks so much better on the new camera. So I don't know what is it doing. Hey Emmanuel, hey Cocoa Butter, hey Kay, hey Sid, hey Ren. Right. I know we changed. This was a change in content because I didn't know disclosure was gonna come out. I would have been told y'all to look at it, but I hope y'all are in the now about trans events and have watched it on Netflix. If not, we'll talk about some things. Let's have a good conversation. Hmm. I knew when I watched this COVID we would talk about it. Yes, this was yeah. So let me just introduce what we're talking about. I don't know what's going on with this camera. It was $250, and I don't know what the hell is happening. But we'll just use the regular camera that I normally use until I figure it out for next time. Um, it was working earlier. But anyway, we are going to talk about Netflix's film Disclosure, which was executive produced by Laverne Cox. Um, it is a historical analysis of the trans depiction on film and culture and all of those type of things. If you are new to my channel and you're just watching, this is a Black trans feminist centered channel, and you know we talk about shit that have to do with blackness. We talk about shit that have to do with femme. We talk about shit that have to do with trans, LGBT. Um, yeah. Yeah. So every Friday, usually I do a live show starting at 7 or a little bit later, and we pick some type of cultural thing to watch and analyze it. So today is going to be culture. It's going to be not culture, disclosure. Disclosure. So yes, if you're just coming in, make sure you do a thumbs up, and yeah. So let's talk about it. All right. So So one of the very first, which I thought was a very interesting question that they asked early on in the show was, and this is interactive. So if you have a question, put it in the box. We'll try to get it. Sometimes it's going so fast that I can't get to it, but yeah, question or commentary. It's the live chat. You're supposed to use it. um, So one of the first questions that they bring up is why are the trans issue or trans folks front and center in the culture world, in the culture wars that we see today. And so I do have some thoughts, and I have really been sharing these thoughts like crazy because it's Pride Month, and because Pride Month Pride Month is a bittersweet time in mm, I want to say just my life, just queer folks' lives, but particularly people who are like activists or people who are like yeah, I just say activists. Because this is when we really get to see people being performative, really get to see how much people they try to pretend to care, but they don't really care. For example, this um, this month, I've gotten so many emails, and this is every year around this month about people saying, "Oh my God, we're doing LGBT program because it's Pride Month, and we want you to be a part of it, and we want to." We want to show trans voices and amplify trans voices. And, we Googled and we found you. Or we see that you're a YouTuber, so cool. We see that you got a podcast, so great. We see that you're the executive director of Black Trans and Women's Inc. So, oh, yes, you are the perfect one for us to put on a pedestal and amplify your voice. But we're hitting you up 2 days before the event, and we don't have a budget. We don't have any money for you, but we want you to spend time. We want to pick your brain about what we can do. We want to use your expertise without paying you, and use you so that we can look like, from a company standpoint, we want the optics to look like we are down with the LGBT community. We are down with the Black folks. We are down with the trans shit. You know? We want to look like that, but we also don't want to pay you any of the revenue that this company is going to get. Who knows the benefit of those optics? You see? So this year is a really bittersweet time, but with companies that have paid me, shout out to Spotify, shout out to the Minneapolis Institution of Art, shout out to BT, shout out to the Conversationalist, Essence, people like that who really have the root, people who have really stepped up and made sure that we have been taken, that I have been taken care of. And, I have been really talking about why why in this moment, why in this time, we have, we are front and center in the culture world. So, one of the reasons why I think that we are front and center, why we are seeing this kind of uptick in trans representation now, is because a lot of things that was distracting people from centering us is not on the table anymore. When we think about marriage equality, because that passed in the Obama administration, these LGBT orgs don't have a woe is me narrative to tell anymore. It was, oh my God, let's find the oldest gay couple. Let's find the butchest lesbian gay couple. Let's find let's find all these love stories. Oh, the old trans woman that's in relationship and living with her spouse, Miss Windsor. Let's try to find these stories, these love stories that prove that we are just like cisgender people. We are just like cisgender people, so we deserve to be married, we deserve to be that. And so when they're writing grants, these narratives are in the storyline because that issue was the front and center issue, marriage equality. And so, that trans stuff that you got going on, you dying and getting killed and being homeless and not having a place to stay, and having us not doing the research with trans women in mind and trans men in mind in regards to HIV work. All of that is really kind of unimportant. We really are pushing the heartstrings of people with this marriage equality story. So remember, prior to marriage equality being passed and into law, federal law, you would see all these like money being thrown into videos on YouTube, campaigns, for marriage equality. The trans stuff was back burner stuff. And if you remember, that was conservative tactics that was dangled. It was like a carrot dangled in lesbian, bisexual, not bisexual. See, bisexuals, that's a whole nother conversation. But lesbian and gays, bisexuals, they have some privilege, I think. There's some erasure that happens with bisexuals, but it's also some comfortability in stealth, and I ain't gotta really tell everybody everything. There's some down low shit that happened in the bisect, the B realm of the LGBT. But specifically lesbian and gay men, for me, if you remember, not for me, but if you remember, historically, they were dangled the carrot that, in certain states, not all states, that if you, when it comes to the end of bill and workforce discrimination, if you just leave out that gender identity, we'll let the sexual orientation just slide through. But them trannies, girl, you need to leave them trannies alone and come on through this door of privilege that we'll let you get through if you just drop that gender identity. And there was literally lesbians and gay men, not all of them, and most of them were like, we're not going to do that. We're not going to throw our sisters under the bus. But there was a lot. There was a big segment that was like, well, maybe we should take this offer and throw our sisters under the bus, and we'll just come back for you later. But we know that doesn't work, and we see why, because we're put on the back burner until there's no other stories left. And so now in this day and time, with the simultaneous movement for Black Lives, this uptick, because the movement for Black Lives didn't just start when Black Lives Matter happened. This is just a new uptick. Just like in the civil rights movement, it was a new uptick. It wasn't, people cared about Black lives before the 60s. People had racial analysis before the 60s. People had books and studies being done, albeit not as great, but there were racial, when we talk about Frederick Douglass, when we talk about W.E.B. Du Bois, and even before them, there were racial analysis that were happening in favor of Black lives. But, these upticks just happen because racism is such a big beast. And so now with the Black Lives Matter, there's an uptick in that. And now that we don't have gender equality, not gender equality, I'm sorry, marriage equality on the books, now that we don't have it on the burner because it's been passed, they have to find something else. They have to find the new woe is me. And what is the new LGBT woe is me? It is the deaths of Black trans women. So of course, now that they got to have compelling narratives to get that funding from the government, compelling narratives to get people to donate, what is the new woe is me other than, now that we can't use the, look at this poor gay couple that is just like you. Now that you can't do that anymore because they have the rights, what is the new narrative? What is the new sad story? Oh, every month it's a Black trans woman that's murdered. Oh my God, I can't believe this. Oh, we wanna do a story on ABC. We wanna do a story on NBC. We wanna do, oh my God, we want these Black trans women, even though they've been murdered. They've been being murdered. They've been the stuff has been happening to us. We've been saying the same thing, y'all. Like there's some disparities out here that is crazy, and y'all are not doing the work to help us. But now that you can write the grants and you can, get the donors, and you need them, and you need a new narrative. That is the new narrative. Yes. So, yes. So I want to, I just want to make that clear, so you understand when you see these big companies, and it's not, and I'm in no way saying that that shouldn't happen, but don't be fooled into thinking that people just started, have been doing this work. They have not been doing this work. It has been trans women who have been doing the work to give trans women, particularly Black trans women, that have been doing the work to give trans women, other trans women in these communities, mechanisms to survive. Because that's what we need. We don't really, visibility is beautiful, but as I have said on multiple platforms, that doesn't give us, it just, it's like protests. Like, there was when protests, when the protests really broke out, when they always break out, there's the coons, the coons and the respectable ones saying, what does this do? What is this gonna solve? What is tearing up this gonna solve? What does breaking and looting and tearing into a target gonna solve? What is this arguing and this protesting and stopping me from going to work because you shutting down the highway? What does that solve? Sweetie, I'm sorry to tell you, I'm sorry that you're stupid, but protest really isn't meant to directly solve the problem. Protest on the base level is meant for awareness. It's meant for you to understand this is happening. You are ignoring us, and we need to disrupt some shit so you can pay attention. It cannot go as it was going the day before because you're not understanding us. We're angry, and we need to disrupt something so that you can pay attention. It's so you can pay attention so that the people who are in power, who wants us to stop disrupting, can actually make some solutions that's acceptable to us. The protest is awareness. It's not supposed to be the solution. It's not supposed to be what this is solving. And so visibility, when we talk about film, the film industry, and the media and social media, that is about awareness. It's not, we can't, Laverne Cox being as beautiful as she is, and as talented as she is, in the movies that she is, Janet Mock getting these Netflix deals and being able to have these great movies, these great shows, and these great movies and these great productions for us to see trans narratives being told in an authentic way. That is amazing, but that is just awareness and visibility. That does not give the poor, working class, HIV positive, sex worker who is homeless. That doesn't fix those structural oppressions for that particular one. That particular girl. Yes, she might can sit on her phone, on her Obama phone, and see these beautiful trans women living in privilege, on her phone, and it might inspire her and make her feel great, but she still has to eat. She still got to go on the corner and turn a trick for the job because she doesn't have the infrastructure to help her and, get to another level because, the infrastructure isn't there for her. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, so the visibility is beautiful. I'm never going to talk down on the girls who are doing the work in Hollywood, but like Hollywood is just visibility. It's Hollywood. News, media, that is all Hollywood shit. That is all visibility. And we also know that with visibility, because these corporations, Hollywood, multimedia, mass media corporations are led by white men. We know anything led by them is rooted in white supremacy. We know that. So how those disparaged people are depicted is going to have that spin of racism. It's going to have that spin of sexism. It's going to have that spin of y'all broke and you poor and we're upper class. And these are the images we want to put out of you. When we talk about, I haven't put it out yet, but there is going to be an interview of me and a guy from, he doesn't want me to tell who he works for, but me and him talked about how he literally works for the media, and he would get footage of, he's a videographer for a major news corporation. We'll get into that later on. I talked to him, and he's a videographer, and he says, I literally have brought them videos. Yes, watch it with everybody in your life. He literally brought them videos of peaceful protests. And his producers, the people in power, said, we don't want to see the peaceful ones. We want to see the rebel rousers. We want to see the angry and mad and the violent and the destructive. We want to see that. That's what people want to see. That's get the watchers. And it reminds me of like when we think about how cops depicted Black people, the series Cops, bad boys, what you gonna do? What you gonna do when they come for you? That how it depicted Black people and how it went along with the political narrative of, the super predator, all that racist cultural stuff that come out of the Clinton administration. It reminded me of that. The news people said, no, they don't, the producers, and they don't want to see no good stuff. They don't want to see the good stuff happening. That doesn't bring the ratings. We want it to be, this bad stuff because that's what brings the people. And that goes along with the overarching narrative that Black people are violent, that we want to keep them, that we use on a constant basis to keep them from good jobs, to keep them from any kind of usefulness. We say, they're lazy. Look at them. They're on crack. They're criminals. They're doing robbery. Look, we got tons of proof in this video footage that we are putting out. And so it's useful for the narrative to depict Black people in a way that they depict us, to depict trans people in a way. This show talked about it on how most of them were depicting us as prostitutes. And regardless if that could be a truth or not, that is some people's truth. That is not all of who we are, even when we are a prostitute. There's a reason why a lot of us, because of the systems and structure, why we are in that work in the first place. So if you're not giving the context of why we are in there and you're just depicting us as prostitutes, you are part of the problem. So, yes, the gatekeepers controlling the narrative, absolutely. So history and representation. One of the things that I absolutely love. Y'all know I am a history buff. I don't know everything, but I know a lot of history. And when I find something, I'll go down a wormhole of looking into things. And so some of these things I had saw, but some of these things were brand new to me, particularly around the point that they were making about D.W. Griffin. Now, I knew D.W. Griffin from The Birth of the Nation. That is something that if you are a woke Black person, you know that The Birth of the Nation, what the intention was it to depict Black men as rapists and criminals. And it was the first time that we seen a Klan rally, as heroes to save white women. And as we know, with the Karens of today, this is what started, this is the start in film of reiterating and strengthening that narrative of the distressed white woman and the the Black men being, trying to get them and disrupt her, and the white man is like, oh, I'm saving the day. We have to protect our white femininity, and to be the hero comes with violence and us gathering together as white men in a clan to stop these evil Black people. And we know even at that time, Black people could not be on film. So it was a white person in blackface, crazy makeup and the eyes and creeping and that image of D.W. Griffin, Birth of a Nation is, penetrated in my mind. But to know, which I did not, to know that what Disclosure revealed to me, to know that he did another film that had a trans person at the center being just as problematic. And what I know as a trans person, a Black trans person, how transphobia and racism are intertwined, and seeing how the nuances of both of those things were intertwined by this racist, homophobic, transphobic, and they didn't even have that language back then. So this is new age language being put on that concept. But we know just because we didn't have the language, I remember when I was younger, I didn't have the language of transgender, but I had the feeling. And I knew there was some kind of, incongruency happening. And so when seeing the depiction, seeing them pull out that footage from early film days, this is stamped in history, early film days, the filmmaker who had the power to and access to film, which most of us didn't have. This is the type of imagery that they put out. And so it is only, it is so telling that it's only fitting that our culture would lead to all these negative stereotypes of Black people, negative stereotypes of trans people, negative stereotypes of women. And, because, the gatekeepers, what's the African proverb about the lion telling the story until, so I can't remember what the proverb is, but something about, you won't get the truth. Basically what it's saying is you won't get the truth, or the story is going to be different if you let the lion tell the story instead of the hunter. It's going to be a total different story. And so, with the hunter telling the story, we can only imagine, we see what the ramifications and the ripple effect of, white men being in power, racist white men being in power, and how that story can be skewed in their favor. Let me see. So the white lady, there's a white trans woman that was talking about Angie Dickinson. And it was funny because she was saying, you just don't understand a young trans person, a young trans child that is from the suburbs, seeing Angie Dickinson getting murdered until lions have their historians, tales of the hunt will always glorify the hunter. Yes, thank you, Brandon. That is the exact one. She was saying, I'm Angie Dickinson. I don't know what the fuck that is. When she was talking about the man dressed up in the shake and go wig coming in the elevator with her cutting this beautiful white woman up. And, I couldn't help but think that, that movie, it never resonated with me because I'm a Black woman, and seeing Angie Dickinson, that wasn't my ideal of beauty. So when I saw that movie, it was very next channel. So I've never even seen that. I've seen like parts of that movie, but watching it all the way through, the white ingenue has never been in my psyche of it's just never been something that I resonated with. So I never watched that movie all the way through, so I wasn't able to use that as a trans cultural reference. But it was interesting that this trans person from the suburbs had her as a cultural reference. As a Black hood trans woman, that was not my cultural reference. And we come from different age brackets. My cultural reference to a trans person on film, I think may have been The Crying Game, even though I never watched that all the way through either. Because The Crying Game was a story that when I tell somebody I'm trans, that's the first movie they bring up. Ooh, have you seen The Crying Game? And so, ooh, have you seen A Soldier's Girl? Ooh, have you seen Tu Wong Fu? Those are the things that were brought up. So I never really watched The Crying Game, those things because I felt like that don't have nothing to do with me. I no connection to that. I don't date white men, so being in a situation with white men, all that is nothing. None of this depicts what I'm going through. it never depicts anything that I'm going through in my own personal experience. So this ain't me. I think when I started to see something that was remotely close to what I was experiencing, I guess, and this is sad, but I guess it would be, and it was the talk shows. When we talk about Jenny Jones, Donahue, and even Jerry Springer, when they would have the conversations and they're telling their stories, even though it was rooted in, oh, is this a man? It's a woman, or I'm revealing I used to be a man, or I used to be a woman. Even though that part of the narrative wasn't really my tea, a little bit sometimes not, sometimes so. Just their stories, how they talked about their transness, and one of the notes that I put down is how back then it was a hustle. It was a hustle. I remember Jerry Springer calling all of us because they saw our ads on the internet, like they saw our escort ads. They would literally go to the escort section and call our ads and say, "Ooh, you want to be on Jerry? We will pay for you to get out here, give you a little bit of money, give you a check, and you get to be on TV. Don't you want to do that?" And girls would be like, "Oh, really? Oh, yeah." They'll make up a story or they will give them a story. And once I learned that, I was like, this ain't even real. Some of them were, but once it started to be a hustle, they said, "Ooh, this is giving us more rating. So let's start making up the storyline." So initially, some of the stories were real. And so I remember Brittany on Jerry Springer that bashed that cis girl. I cussed their ass out when they called me. Yes, but see, at the time, when it was happening, you know, it was we didn't have trans girls on the TV, and so for you to be the girl on the TV, it was like, oh, I remember when one of my friends was on there. It was like a moment where we all watched. Oh, she's gonna be on Jerry Springer, and so we didn't have it like it was a gig. Even like I remember Nikki Airgoose was on there. Um, Raina Valentino from Chicago was on there. I remember, it just was a big ass thing. Um, yeah. Well, I don't know if it was probably $300 now, but they were offering a good 1,000 to 500 for us back in the day. I'm a little older. Um, yeah. And so for me, the age that I am, coming out in 90, 94, 95, that Jerry Springer and Ricky Lake, and it really wasn't movies other than, as they mentioned, like Buffalo Bill, on Silence of the Lamb, which I love that movie. That movie was fucking epic, but that's the representation of trans woman that I knew. Crying Game, and all the jokes. Of course, we had jokes like, I'm black, so I have black cultural references. So I remember being in the hood, and anytime an episode of In Living Color would come out and Wanda would be on it, You know, I remember being in school, and that was, you know, that was a reference in a joke that they would use to call you gonna be Wanda when you grow up. Um, I remember Ace Ventura. I never really watched Ace Ventura all the way. Um, you know, it's really, 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 it's it was dire back then. Y'all blessed in this new age. Y'all blessed in this new age because it's not perfect representation, but it's much, much better than we had in my era. So I can only imagine I'm in that middle era. I'm not an elder, but I'm not a young head either. I'm in that middle area in this generation. So the elders, people older than me, like in their 60s, in their 50s, in their 40s, man. So I can only imagine them growing up in the 80s, them growing up in the 70s, in the 60s, you know, so just crazy. So I didn't have any kind of good representation that I remember. Trying to think of, was there a good one? I think the first time that I resonated with a trans narrative that was like, oh my God, this is really good, was 99. It was Boys Don't Cry. And they talked about this on Disclosure. Um, Boys Don't Cry, and it's not I don't think it's a coincidence that the story that's taken the first story that's taken seriously is, to me, is a white trans man. I don't think that that's a coincidence. I think that that's white supremacy. Honey, I don't think that that's far fetched to understand why, you know, the first one that wins an Oscar about a trans narrative is about a white trans man. You know, I resonated with it because it was an independent film. You know, a new actress, Hilary Swank, was new. Beat out Meryl Streep and killed the role. She did really, really well. It was a real story, and it was so heart wrenching. Like I can't explain to you seeing that film on yes, Boys Don't Cry. Seeing that film, yeah, that was an emotional roller coaster from the time Brandon Tina, from the time that, like, when they forced him to take his clothes off in front of his girlfriend, the rape, and then to add on top of that trauma, the police officer. When you hear the conversation in the film, it was bad. But if you go on YouTube, there actually is a recording on YouTube of the real conversation between the officer and Brandon Tina. And the real conversation was way worse than the actual film conversation. So that conversation and the anger that it brought into me, like, I'm here because I was raped by these motherfuckers, and you're asking me, why are you running around dressed like a girl? I mean, dressed like a guy. What? What the fuck does that have to do with anything? Like, it. Oh my God, y'all! It just sparked something in me. So that was the first time that it seemed like it was a real representation, but it also was a tragedy, and it didn't show the joy of the people. And so at this time in my life, I had not seen Paris is Burning. Like, I had not seen anything like I didn't see Paris is Burning until like 2000s, like that first decade of the 2000s. Oh yes, and then Erasing the Black Guy. I didn't know about, that's another thing about Disclosure. I didn't know about it being a black guy until maybe like 3 years ago. when I was looking up the story on YouTube, when I found the original recording, maybe like 3 or 4 years ago, and Brandon Tina's story was on there, and then they started showing pictures of people that was killed in the news, like the real news. And I was like, that's a black guy. I didn't remember no black guy being in the movie. Like, they literally erased the black guy that was murdered in the incident. I was like, what? Y'all really didn't want to put a black character? And when Teak Milan said, like, you can't be queer and black. You can't put them together. No, we only can do one storyline at one time. We barely can do that one. But we definitely can't do these two together. Oh, that made me gag. So yes. There was can y'all tell me, I want y'all to tell me, the trans folks that are listening, what are some of the what characters do you remember that were problematic when you were growing up? Like when you saw them in your youth, a representation that was, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a trans person, but something that made you cringe. I know Wanda was one. Wanda was one for me. But Wanda was one. Oh, and even though that they were gay men, I knew that they were going to be used at me. Shanae on Martin. Shanae was funny. I don't know why I didn't cringe with Shanae because I don't know. I'll talk about that. But on In Living Color again, those two gay boys, men on film, I knew, even though, you know, they ain't trans, I knew because the ignorance of other people who associated gay men and trans all in one, I knew they were going to use that. I knew they were going to use that against me in school. I knew that that was going to be a part of the roast session. Oh, y'all was on In Living, because, you know, when we back in the day when In Living Color was on, that was a Black cultural thing. Like, we all would be at home watching In Living Color. When it was something like that, like we all would be at home watching it. And so, you know, I knew when I would go to school, yeah, you was on TV. Yeah. The trans character in Twin Peaks. Yes. So Shanae and Martin, because Martin did all the characters, the mama, Jerome, the little boy, Shanae, it didn't trigger me as a trans character. Shanae was supposed to be cis. So I didn't think of her as a sex change. You see what I'm saying? I didn't think of Shanae. I thought of Shanae as a ghetto Black girl. I thought she was more problematic in the depiction of ghetto Black girls. And you know, it was solidifying that this is not the respectable Black. This is the funny Black girl. You know what I'm saying? This is the ghetto hair, loud, feisty Black girl. I didn't really take offense to that in the trans perspective because Shanae was supposed to be cis. Like, she wasn't supposed to be, I don't know. That's how I never took it like that. I hope that makes sense. Tootsie, absolutely. Yes, look up Cookie Tookie Jerry on YouTube. Yep, I never, you know, Cookie Tookie makes me sad. When I think about Samantha within her addiction and how people, there's a point in Disclosure where one of the trans women says, right in the beginning, she says, our senses and our radar to pick up when you're laughing is really, really strong for us to pick up when you're laughing with us and when you're laughing at us. I could see the difference in how they were treating T.S. Madison. I felt they were laughing with T.S. Madison, but laughing at Sam. And so watching Samantha, she was like, it was like a train wreck. Watching her is like a train wreck. Like I can't really sit and watch her because it's sad. And you look at the comments and people are getting their life and kikiing and being shady, egging her on, and it's just not cute to me. I'm just not. I'm not. Yeah, I'm not into that. I feel like everybody's laughing at us, and it's not just her. There's a secondary embarrassment that happens when I watch Samantha. I sure will. I gotta see that. Thanks, love. Joanna Man, yeah, that was funny. I never watched that. I thought it was stupid. Um, Alex Mead on Ugly Betty was sickening, but all the trans jokes she got as a trans character made me cringe. Oh, Ugly Betty, I forgot about that. Oh, Andrea, yes, yes, I forgot about that. Yes, 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 yes. What y'all thought about the light skinned friend on Tangerine? I couldn't watch Tangerine. Everybody suggested it, and I couldn't watch it because the acting was so horrible. I couldn't. I couldn't even fight through it. It was so bad for me. I couldn't even. Yeah, the acting was so bad. I could not. I couldn't. I said, I'm trying, and I just can't. Um, what are your thoughts about Disclosure explaining the black comedian in drag, making black males more palatable for white audience? I think that is a okay. So there's that is two things. That's in my notes as well. Look, so is that a thing? I do believe it is a thing. I think that is. I think why they cut black males' penises off, why they put them in dresses, um, is all rooted in the same freak ass white supremacist racism, um, patriarchy, and emasculating black men. I do believe that is a thing. But the problem that I have is when cis black men use it as a tool to be transphobic, tool to be homophobic. Because they usually only invoke that when they're making a bigger, larger anti-gay statement, anti-trans statement. Do you see what I'm saying? They always use that they invoke it in a way that invalidates us as if we're not real. Like we're a part of the problem. Like we've been brainwashed and bamboozled into that emasculation. As if like femininity is not us. Like it's not our natural being. It's us being brainwashed by the white man into and accepting being emasculated, as if the homosexual or the transsexual doesn't exist. None of that other stuff really matters. You're just a gay man because we don't believe any of that bullshit that you're talking. You're just a gay man you're just a black man. You're black first, as everybody been saying this week. That's annoying to me. And I told y'all why in a couple of episodes ago. Because when I come through the door, I'm everything. I'm not just black. I'm everything that I am coming through the door, and all of them are important. So you're a black man first. So all that other shit is just bullshit. And so when they use it to throw us under the bus, I don't like it, and I don't fuck with it. If you want to have a conversation about it, yes, but don't use it as the launching pad for you to be homophobic and transphobic. I don't like that. You think only trans people should play characters? No. You are never going to hear. I'm saying because you're asking it to me directly on my show. I'm going to tell you what I feel legit, but I am never going to when a trans person says that. When a trans person say, I don't think that a trans I don't think that a cis person should play a trans person. When they say that, I'm never going to argue with them. You ain't never going to be seeing, well, a cisgender person could play it. You're never going to see me do that. I'm never going to do that. I'm going to always be rooting for the trans person getting the role, but I don't always think that it has to be. I don't always, I don't think that it has to be. I think I have a problem with my art being policed. And if I feel that this person would play the character better than anybody else, if that person just so happens to be cisgender, I'm gonna go for it. And if this is my project, bitch, get the fuck on. This is what I wanted to do. If you want to boycott it, fuck it. Yeah. But it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good because I'm gonna pick the right person. I think it's more activist work for you to choose a trans person, which is why I would never argue that they shouldn't pick a trans person. But I'm a person that is not totally annoyed by it, depending on the skill of the actor, depending on the skill of the actor. Yeah. I forgot about Medea. Medea has always been a coon. That's all. That's what I call, and this might be problematic of me, but some movies and shows and Black culture stuff, I feel like it's chitlin circuit, and I don't watch it. I feel like it's shucking and jiving, so I don't watch it. And the Medea plays and stuff like that, that's all in that category. They like Black men in dresses because of juxtaposition. Yes, I agree. I think the whole point is to act the role. Doesn't mean you have to actually be the role. Yes, and then I also feel like, and this might be problematic too, but I'm just gonna say it because that's just what it is. I haven't worked this all the way through, but it feels weird for us to say trans people should only play trans people, but then also at the same breath say, oh my God, I wish they would give us just cisgender roles, just to be cisgender. Because then it's like, no, you shouldn't play cisgender because you're not cisgender. And I haven't thought this all the way through, but that's what for me, I'm like, that feels kind of weird and unfair. But then it's like, when we talk about equity doesn't need to be fair. And if we need more, and that would be comparing the cisgender experience and the transgender experience. They're incomparable because we're the one with the lack of representation. So your analysis making them equal isn't right. So that's what I mean about maybe I'm problematic. Do you get what I'm saying? You see how I'm working through it? This is what you're supposed to do. This is what you're supposed to do. If you got some problematic views, work through it. And this is I'm trying to work through it. I haven't. That feels weird and unfair and shady, but it feels weird when you say I want to play cisgender people, but cisgender can't play us. That feels weird. That feels. Maybe it's right. Maybe that's how we get representation, doing both. And bitch, you can't play our roles, so stop playing our roles. That may be true, but it feels unfair. It feels shady. Yeah. What is your thoughts on the Crying Game narrative? I actually never watched the Crying Game. I just talked about that. I never watched it because it was something that everybody compared me to, and I didn't like being compared to things that I didn't think I related to. I thought she was white, but I think she was like mixed or something. All that, no, thank you. So let's see. Okay, so this is a part of the narrative that was interesting too. Why do we see more trans women than trans men? Why do y'all think it is? Yes, they talked about that on the show, George Jefferson. And it's funny how they showing all this stuff that happened early in black shows, and black people act like, oh my God, this just happened. When the Jeffersons was back in the 70s and they were talking about a trans issue. Um, yeah. So tell me, why do y'all think there's more representation of trans women? I know why, but I know why I think it is. I have a theory. And why do you think it's more trans men? I don't think that they find trans men as interesting. Women are commodifiable. It's more shocking to see someone masculinity taken away. Ooh, these some great answers. What else? What else? What else? What else? Trans women get clocked more often in real life, so in that sense, they are more visible. Hmm, I don't know about all that. I'm talking about produced depictions on shows. That's not about visibility. That's about somebody created that visibility. Y'all think trans men pass easier? Okay. Well, there might be some truth in that. I'm not 100% convinced of that. There. So yes, there are some because testosterone is a stronger chemical on a scientific molecular level. Testosterone is a stronger chemical than estrogen. So when they put it in their system, there are really key things that it changes. It brings hair, which women don't have. It well, they have it. But in the way that a man grows hair. Um um and it makes their voice get deeper. Estrogen doesn't do that. It doesn't make your voice get higher. It actually doesn't stop hair from growing. It slows down hair growth. And it stops dormant hairs from coming. The hairs that are dormant, it stops them from coming. So it doesn't make you, it actually changes trans men's bone structure, how their bones are calcified based on testosterone. So I might run with that. I can't say that. But I only don't like that kind of, because that's almost like oppression Olympics. And it doesn't matter who's passable and who's not, because there's tons of passable trans women, tons of clockable trans men. Because I know some that, even though they be on testosterone and got beards, their voice might not be masculine. Um, or they could be real hippie. Or, it could be so many things that could get them clocked. So that's why it's hard for me to say who is more passable and who is not. um, I think trans women are just more interesting to look at, no shade. But the creator hasn't seen and thus know any trans men. But the creator hasn't seen and thus know any trans men. What do you mean by that, Slick? A lot of the men being interviewed in Disclosure were unclockable to me. I had to look them up. Hmm. That might be different because I knew them. I knew most of them. There's some of them that are like, ooh. But there's some of the women that were like, ooh. So I don't know. A lot of the men being interviewed, there's an obsession with the whole football player man becoming a dainty woman, and they see it as a joke. Their height and their hips usually clock it. I don't think masculinity gets analyzed, scrutinized to the extent that femininity does. I think all of these answers that y'all are giving have been great. And sometimes the eye area never really masculinized. Interesting. So I think a lot of these, I don't want to trigger anybody, so let's not analyze the physical. Yes. Yeah. Um, I think all of these answers are great. I feel like trans men just don't stand out most of the time, especially compared to cis men. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know, y'all getting a little weird. Like, ooh, I don't know about that. Um, but yes, I think my own personal feelings about it, I agree with most of what y'all saying in regards to like women being commodified and trans men being less interesting. Um, I totally agree with those things, and I also I think for the larger narrative, I'm always bring it. I think racism and patriarchy and all that kind of stuff is rooted in everything. So this. I just think that that's what it is. I think it serves multiple purposes more so than them. I think that depicting trans women in the negative way that for so long that we have been depicted, it does two things. It serves to make fun of women, the things, especially in the time when patriarchy was like the rule and women was kind of just in the house doing their thing, making fun of the way them not being educated, because it was legal for them, illegal. They didn't go to school. You just need to be a wife. You need to know how to cook, and if you're rich, you don't even know how to cook because you don't have a maid. And so so making fun of the things that they were interested in, fashion, hair, makeup, those were low level things in back in the day. So dressing a man up in this caricature, and showing the ridiculous of women powdering their face, women in heels. Like there was a show where the dude was wobbling in heels, and making things associated with women and what women do, the culture, the stereotypical femininity, beauty culture, making fun of those things is useful to keep women in their place. Like we're smarter than you. We're better than you in a situation. Y'all do these trivial, even though we set you up to do these trivial things to get access and social mobility, we're gonna roast you and keep you and belittle you in a way that said all this woman stuff is just silly stuff. We're up here in the politics. We're up here in the education. We're up here in this upper echelon of serious topics. Women, we can make fun of them and make fun of the little silly stuff that they do. But we can also use this as a tool to emasculate men, to belittle feminine men, and belittle sectors of men that we deem as unworthy to be placed in this patriarchal hierarchy. So when we talk about, that's why there was a Native American person dressed up as a woman in one of the films that they depict. There was a Native American person. So there was a Black person. There was a Native American person. You get what I'm saying? There was these particular sectors of men that we need to humanize, and so that utility can be better used if we're dressing up a man because we're the top. Also, it can do all of these things while making it ridiculous and making the idea of transitioning a ridiculous idea. You'll never be a real woman. You'll never get your voice right. You'll never get every single thing perfectly right. You'll never know how to be a woman. You'll never know how to do all the things that innately come with womanhood because you're a man of this. We're going to always be able to see the man in you and the ridiculousness of you trying, we're going to put on display. And that all serves the purpose to me of uplifting the white male patriarchal idealistic ideology, that ideal. I think it all helps that narrative. It all helps that that master narrative. This is the ultimate one. Even when they brought up the point of Rayon in Dallas Buyers Club, the growth of the straight white male and how he became the hero, and her spiraling down into drugs and prostitution, and being the juxtaposition of him being the hero and coming out of it and succeeding and being more positive, of her just failing. It's always, to me, I think that it's the purpose. The purpose is to uplift, the male narrative, but also women are more objectified. Somebody said commodified, that's one word as well, but objectified too. And somebody brought up the football player, the extreme masculine going all the way to the extreme feminine, giving up that patriarchy, that inherent birthright of being a patriarch, what comes with male privilege. You literally are giving. Of course, a woman is going to want to go to manhood. Of course, a woman is going to want to go up the totem pole. That's quite logical. But what's ridiculous is you giving up the spoils of your birthright as a male child to go down. That's ridiculous. Of course, a woman is going to want to go up. So, of course, trans men exist. Of course, they're going to want to go up into privilege. That makes sense. We think that they are weak-minded. We think that they are weak-minded. So, of course, they're going to be in a better position. They're going to be they want to be seen as one of us. Of course they do. And so what's more ridiculous is you giving up your privilege. You throwing that away to go be in drag. That's what's ridiculous. And that's what is shocking. Oh my God, you're giving it up. Because even when we talk about, there was the thing about Max switching and taking testosterone on the lesbian show. I think it was is it the L Word? I think that was the name of the show. And that was a good call out. How, because this show was led by lesbians, you really got to see how lesbians thought about the trans experience. You really through a trans male narrative, because they were like, he got on testosterone and turned into this asshole man, which is just not the truth. And so, but because lesbians were leading this narrative, she was like, oh, you're giving up the most precious thing about you, womanhood. But I'm a man, so okay. You're not selling it to me. If you're trying to convince a trans man that this is the most precious thing about himself when he doesn't feel like a woman, you're not seeing who he is. So you see what I'm saying? Like it's like I feel like it was interesting that they had that kind of narrative, but I don't think that is I don't think that is the I feel like it was okay for at that time, but previous to for the trans narrative we told on that show. But overall, they're going to want to show the men going to be women. Yeah. So let's see. We talked about Boys Don't Cry. Let's talk about assimilation. So early on, assimilating into cis heteronormativity is the narrative, and it is the strategy. And when we talk about nonprofit organizations, look, so their strategy has always been, I talked about it earlier, but their strategy has always been that assimilation is what works. How can we prove that we are exactly like cisgender people? How can we prove that we are exactly like them except in who we love and who we care about and who we go to bed with and cuddle at night? That is the only difference, but everything else is exactly the same. We want to assimilate, and we want you to see that we are exactly just like you and be relatable because we are just like you, except in this one particular way that doesn't matter, that it's because it's our bedroom. So assimilation is always the tactic. Even if we go talk about it from a racial perspective. There was a time when we look at Phyllis Wheatley. So if you don't know who Phyllis Wheatley is, she is a Black woman who was a slave, who, the white savior comes and sneaks and teaches her, even though it was illegal. The white savior, white teacher woman, teaches, is a real woman. She comes, not a film, it's a real woman, Phyllis Wheatley. She comes in and teaches her how to how to read and write. And she becomes this amazing poet. She becomes this author. And the white woman is like, look, if we give them a chance, the negresses can be exactly just like us. They can read, they can write, they can do all that we can do if we give them a chance. See the little Negro girl who can read and write? See? And it feels like it feels like, and even though they think that they're doing a good thing because, oh, I'm an abolitionist and I feel slavery is wrong, and I feel like it's ridiculous not to teach these people how to read, and I feel it's ridiculous for us to keep them enslaved. And so I feel like this is me doing the work. I feel like if I teach this Negro girl how to read and show people that they can read just like us, they feel like internally that they are doing the right thing. But the idea that they are the supreme, like they are the standard that we have to come to, is racist. Like to think that we are literally believe that we are not good enough. So I gotta prove, the strategy is to prove that we are, keeps them at the supremacy level. And so that was a tactic, but it still was racist. It still was a racist, it still was a racist idea. And so when we think about W.E.B. Du Bois, there's a beautiful book that depicts all of this. It's called Stamped by Ibram X. Kendi. It's called Stamped. Stamped, I can't remember. It's the main word is stamped. By Ibram X. Kendi. Just so y'all can. Ibram X. Kendi, and it's called Stamp, and he depicts different people in different era and how they evolved in their politics, and how politics evolved all the way up until Angela Davis. And so he did Cotton Mathers, he did W.E.B. Du Bois, he did Angela Davis. He just went and to show you how people evolved and where stuff went. And one of the people, W.B. Du Bois, his early work was trying to prove himself to white people that I'm exactly like you. And then later with Soul of a Man or Soul of something, I can't remember his first literature work. Can't remember the name. But and then as his story went on, he started to be like, it's kind of racist for me to even try to build up to them because of course I'm better. I got in Harvard and I'm looking at these white people that I'm actually smarter than. And Michelle Obama recently talked about that too. She was like, I get into this Princeton and I'm realizing I worked so hard to get in here, and now these other people that are here, they kind of bland, they kind of unseasoned, they kind of whack. They really ain't that smart. She was like, I've been in rooms with so many thought leaders and they're not that smart. So we thinking this is the pinnacle of intelligence. We thinking this is the pinnacle of education. We think this is the pinnacle of class. But once you get to that status, it's like, these motherfuckers is whack. Let me go back to the hood where it's fun and seasoned. And folks got some real thought. Not that they're not stupid people there. But, the ultimate, the master narrative is this is where you want to be. You want to go to Harvard. You want to go to Princeton. You want to go all these places. But then when you get there, it's whack. Bland as fuck. So yes. And so I say that to say this. So the strategy has always been to assimilate. And that's why these nonprofit orgs that deal with the LGBT community are the chickens are coming home to roost. And we letting them know you don't work. Your strategy back in the day didn't work then. It didn't work for us then. And it didn't work now because you're putting cisgender people or white people or straight people on a pedestal like that is the model. Why do you think gay men in the gay male culture, which one of you are, they ask us, which one of you are the girl? And I remember when I was younger, that's what they would give. ooh, which one of you are the girl? Which one are you is the girl and the boy? And we like, what? Because to them, they can't fathom. And I'm not talking about straight people. Of course, straight people will ask. I'm talking about even gay folks, other gay folks will be like, which one of you the girl or boy? Who's the top or the bottom? Who's the masculine and feminine? Like, we had to mimic cisgender dynamics. Like, two femmes can't be together. Two masculine people can't be together. And I see that kind of narrative repeating in the culture. No facts, no femmes. And you have to be a feminine bottom, you have to be a masculine top. You can't be a feminine top, that just doesn't match. You can't be a masculine bottom, that just doesn't match. Now we're starting to see some nuance, but there was a long time where that kind of masculine feminine repeating the cishet narrative was in all of our culture, and not just gay men, in lesbian women too. Like, butches not dating femmes. I mean, butches not dating other butches, femmes not dating other femmes, all that kind of stuff. Wait, they're asking trans women, cisgender couples that question. I've had not that exact question, but the idea of me still having a penis automatically brings up the, oh, well, who's doing who? That's a similar question. It's like, oh, yeah, you look like the girl, but in the bedroom, are you pegging? Are you plunging the tray, honey? Like, oh, well, what are y'all doing? What all do y'all explore? Are you getting your ass ate? Oh, like those are similar questions, because of course you must be the girl, but are you the girl? Mm, yeah, that's what they're gonna ask. You don't think dysphoria can be tied to a simulation? Absolutely. Absolutely. I think dysphoria is rooted in a simulation. I do. I think they're rooted. I think that dysphoria, us not matching and wanting to match, and the standard is being cisgender, your body matching that, I think that's rooted in assimilation. Absolutely. That's why girls who get sex changes love to read the girls who don't have sex changes. You're not a real woman until you get the sex change. You still playing in drag if you don't get a sex change, sweetie. You still really a man because you're playing if you don't get a sex change. Because real women don't have penises. So you sitting there as a trans person saying you're trans, but you still keeping your penis, then sweetie, I don't believe you. You're playing. If you were serious about it, you would get a sex change and be a real woman. But then, it's always, what is womanhood? What makes a woman a woman? It's always going to be a line that you can't cross, because then the cisgender girls will say to the sex change trans girls, well, baby, until you have a period, you're not a real woman. You can't have a period. You can't have children. You don't have, you got this man-made vagina, but you can't have a period. You don't have ovaries. You still got a prostate. So you're not a real woman. You can get all of that stuff done to reconfigure your penis into something that looks like a vagina, but you're not a real woman because you can't have periods. It's always a line. Somebody is always making a line. And if you lived on an island away from civilization, dysphoria would still be present. I don't believe that. I don't believe that. If you lived on an island where no other humans were, how would you know that your body was wrong? If you have no standard of what it is, if you're by yourself and you don't know, if you're just a male child and you just thrown on an island and you don't know what the female body looks like, you don't there's nothing to identify with the female body. You're just one human being on an island and don't know anybody. There would be no reference to gender at all. There literally will be no reference to gender. So I don't know how you would have dysphoria. How? Explain that to me. Radical Films already called the sex change a skin hole with hair inside. That is shady. Not a skin hole with hair inside. That's y'all wore that out. That's a cute read. Lucy Henderson. Yeah, I just can't see. Dysphoria has to have that culture. It has to have that binary culture. You see what I'm saying? I just feel like, what would you be dysphoric about if you didn't have that cultural reference? Lucy Henderson managed to assimilate without any hormones or anything. Well, I think Lucy Henderson, let me say this. We all know, well, I do. I don't want to say we all know. I'm saying Lucy's assimilation was innate, not societal pressures. I don't believe that either. I think that I don't think that it was. I don't think transness is not innate. I just think it's with the backdrop of binary. It's with the backdrop of, and I think that non-binary people are shaking that up. Like they're questioning the structure of the binary. I think transness is rooted in the binary. So non-binary people are like, this is kind of bullshit, y'all. This is still a social construct that is bullshit. So it's uncomfortable shaking that up. And that's why you see trans women like, oh my God, these non-binary people, these new school people, because it's shaking it up. It's just like when white people, when you tell white people that, any kind of white supremacist fact, and you shaking that narrative of white supremacy up, it's like, oh Lord. It makes people uncomfortable. It makes me, and I think that that's what's happening now. I'm a binary girl. My identity is rooted in the binary. So when I hear some things that non-binary folks say, I'm like, makes sense, but ooh, yeah, it's kind of weird. So when I talk about Lucy Hicks, there's a lot of people who this was the 30s. Like Lucy came out in this era. They didn't have the things that they needed. I don't think hormones and surgeries stop you from wanting to assimilate to the gender. So yes, I think it's the transness is innate, but I think that it is still rooted in the binary. That is not innate. I'm still trying to get used to that. Yeah, I'm not trying to get used to anybody non-binary. I know so many people. For me, I know so many people that in my growing up era, there are people who fit that gender bending kind of category. They just didn't have a name for it. They didn't have the non-binary name, but they were, sometimes they'll be pumping through in dresses and a beard. We call them Elites. in my city, we call them Elites. But yes, I think that there were tons of people who assimilated because that is all they could do. Like when we talk about Sandra Cadwell, what was her name? That actress that was in all that movies on Disclosure? The black actress that, she was like, oh, yeah, it was Sandra Cadwell. When we talk about Ajita Wilson, Tracy Africa. There was just a time that we did not have this kind of exposure. You couldn't be trans or you wouldn't have opportunities. I remember, I think I told this story on my podcast on my very first episode called Daddy's Lessons, the very first episode of March's Plate. I met a trans woman who had detransitioned. And she said, sweetie, what the luxury that y'all have now, and this is at a time that I didn't feel like we had luxury. but I did have a job at Wendy's. So she was like, you couldn't have a job nowhere because soon as somebody found out, they fired you. End of story. No questions asked. And she said, people, butch queens. I need some water. Butch queens would tell her tea. And she would get fired. And she kept getting fired. And so it was literally affecting her livelihood. And she was like, now it's just different. So they had to either be super, super passable and nobody know, or they wouldn't get jobs. She wouldn't have been an actress. But that also was a beautiful thing that I wanted to, I don't want to just roll over, but that Sandra Caldwell, that Black actress that was on all the movies, The Mentor, in scenes with Louis Gossett Jr., all that. I think trans is non-binary is just natural in that it's a sense we should consider accepting our bodies as is. Our trans spirit will still shine through our actions and clothes, so no need to disclose. In that, but that's in a more ideal society, yes, absolutely. Um, in my mind, I think that if we were free to do what we wanted to do, and somebody looked down, like say that there was no binary, I think that we would still, if somebody looked down with a like say it was no binary in the world, and somebody looked down with the rules of binary in their mind to see, I think they would see different depictions of femininity and masculinity. Um, and that's what I would think. I would think that it was, but we don't live in a world without the binary. So, that's what the transness is rooted in the binary of female and male, the binary of woman and man, the binary of masculinity and femininity. It's those three. It's all rooted in that stuff, and we can't get around it. Girl, I wonder if he knows her too now. I wondered that too. I was like, I wonder if he mad. But I doubt it. I doubt it. So let's see what else we got. Okay, we got a little more time. So I talked about the simulating big nonprofit. So yes, a simulation is the strategy for the nonprofits. I think we're coming. That is because just like Black folks, just like respectability politics, there was a time when you had to play the game. You had to talk white. You had to dress white. You had to quote unquote dress white. You had to do all of these things to prove that you were just like them. And that was a workable strategy. There were benefits of doing that. There was benefits of slave people who were daughters and sons of slave masters. If they could pass as white, it was beneficial to go over to the white side and totally assimilate into white, so you didn't have to be a slave. Or if you couldn't assimilate into whiteness, you can assimilate into that society by acting, upper class and not as a worker and not as a laborer and not as a sharecropper. And, that's why they came up with debutante balls and all this kind of stuff. And then colorism comes into that. That was a utility for social capital. But it came a point in time where that utility is not useful anymore. And I think that is where we're coming into. I think that now that trans people are becoming visible, assimilating, we're seeing the problems in that. We're seeing the problem. Look at her. So when I watched that show, and I seen Sandra Caldwell reveal that she was trans and all these movies she had been in, and she said, I know I'm not the only one. So the ones that we don't know about, did they actually do something for our community? If we don't know about them and nobody knew that they were trans, did they actually do something? And when we think about the passing whites, the blacks who were the biracial people who assimilated into whiteness, if they didn't do the work to dismantle racism and they just assimilated and kept it quiet, had children, whatever they did they actually do something? Are they really important? Like, you didn't do anything but become white, become part of the problem, be part of the status quo. Did you actually do something? The people that we didn't know, if we never find out about them, does that work matter? If we never found out about the trans women who played in movies that were trans, but we never find out about them, does it really matter? I don't know. They were trans, but did they push the culture forward? No, they didn't. Because we don't hear about you. Even like her now, and she's doing talks and doing all this stuff. I was happy that she did all the things, but the back of my mind is like, you've been skating through, and then you come, and then Laverne and all these people come and break the door down, and now you get now you're like, oh, I can come and be myself and be open, and ooh, oh, we just had to do this to survive. And while that is true, the back of my mind was like, oh, girl, now you gonna come through and get your life. All these people that been openly doing shit, and now you come through and getting gigs. I don't know. That felt kind of weird to me. I don't know if that felt weird to y'all, but part of me was like, you've been hiding all this time? And then now that the girls have been through the ringer and have knocked the door down, you come up and say, oh, I'm trans too. I've been doing movies since then. I'm trans too. Hey, I want to get this trans coin. I want to be the trans speaker at GLAAD. Let me tell everybody I'm trans now. I don't know. That feels disingenuous. I don't know. That feels weird to me. Does it feel weird to y'all? I don't know. It feels kind of weird to me. I'm glad and I understand, but I'm like, okay, girl. Or maybe I'm just being a hater. I don't know. That's late. I don't know. It feels weird to me. Let's see. Also, Christine, they talk about Christine Jorgensen. And I love that they pointed out, yeah, that's what it feels like. She was living for the reveal. I love that they pointed out that Christine Jorgensen wasn't the first person to get a sex change. She wasn't the first person to live in their truth, girl, but for some reason, because she was a GI, an ex-GI, G.I. Joe turned to G.I. Jane, she was the most popular at one point. And it's no surprise and no coincidence that this is a white man. What are the benefits of being out versus being stealth? So I would say the benefits of being stealth is that if you have the ability to be stealth, a lot of people who think they're stealth, don't be stealth. I know some people who they think they are stealth, but because nobody is mentioning it, they don't really care. So they letting them get their life. I've seen that where I'm like, girl, I think they know your tea. I feel like I think they know your tea, girl, but they just not saying nothing. I've seen that, but I've also seen, I've seen girls who are stealth. So, but some girls, I'll be like, girl, okay. No, I'm not reading. I'm just saying. They love a masculine white man transition. Very Caitlyn Jenner. Absolutely, they do. The benefits of being stealth is that if you have the ability, the privilege of passing, you get treated like a regular woman. That's the benefit. You're navigating the world like a regular cis woman. on a day-to-day basis. So for me, I have a deep voice, so that's something that gets me clocked sometimes. Not all the time, but when I'm navigating the world, most people just think I'm just a regular chick. So I don't get pointed at. I don't get when I'm navigating the world. I don't get motherfuckers. Ooh, that's a man. I don't really get that. I get very auntie fish, and you know, sometimes I'll get clocked, especially my voice. It's my voice because I don't have the highest voice, and I don't code switch. Like I don't be trying to, you know, I don't have time for that shit. Now, I remember my younger days, I would be like, oh, let me bring my voice up and give you all this high voice. And, especially when I would be at work. But as time went on, child, you're going to get this voice that I give you. Because I see cis women with deep ass voices. So I'm going to give you this voice, however I give it to you. And it got to the point where I wasn't caring that much anymore. If you knew my tea or not, I didn't really care. But the luxury of having a look is that, I don't get in no shit. Like people don't fuck with me out on the street at all. That's just the benefit of stuff. You don't get bothered. The benefit of being out. I won't say that there is any personal benefit. I don't know. You would have to ask somebody else about that. I won't say that being out, there's a personal benefit, but the benefit of being out and navigating the world is much, much more of a cultural benefit. People have a reference. There's a normalcy that happens. It's a normalcy. Oh, yeah, it's not Caitlyn Jenner. No, she sounds like, ooh. But there's a normalcy that happens. You are a representation of a community. You are a representation of something new that, not new in the sense of like we ain't been around, but new in the sense of somebody could have a idea of what a trans person looks like, an idea of what a trans person acts like, and then when they meet me and I'm just like a normal woman and I'm just being nice, I'll have my muumuu on and I'm not in long, crazy 62-inch hair and lashes and highlighter to the moon and painted and, all these stereotypes that somebody might have of a trans woman. They see that I'm just normal. I'm not flamboyant. I'm not, whatever, what it could be. When they see you, you could break down stereotypes about trans people. Oh, you don't know how many times when I was working, I'm still working, but when I was working a regular job, how many times people say, wow, I've never seen a trans woman working a regular job. Like they literally would say that. And I'm like, what? I know tons of women that work a trans job, a regular job. And they're like, I ain't never seen it. So you just being normal is kind of wild. Let me see. I have a friend like that. Even with Star Crunch, she's getting through. Even with Star Crunch, she wears. What does that mean? Are you talking about the bumps, the makeup on top of the bumps? Bitch, you are tired. You are tired. Do you? Do you help? I do you help a friend like this? She criticized me for putting effort into my appearance. I think you mean how do you help a friend like this? She criticized me for putting effort into my appearance. The girls that are over. No, I've heard that read before, but it's always a kiki when I hear it. The girls that are over the top, film voice, and all that get clocked just as fiercely. Absolutely, you so right, Jordan. I think what makes me really get through is my confidence and my I remember when I was younger, I call them confidence bang. You would have that bang that come right here, and then it'd be long like this. So it's covering your jawline and covering your brow bone. I call them confidence bangs. I don't have no confidence bang wig around. But it's a classic look where it's just a bang across and long down this way, and maybe where it's like I call it confidence bang. But I had a look. I would always put hair in my face like I was Aaliyah. Let me like I would never have a bust down like this. I would never have a bust down. Once I got FFS and this became smooth, I was more confident with my forehead. But child, when it wasn't smooth and there was no bump right there, child, I would always have my hair. Let me turn this to the side where it was, honey, pulled all the way down. If I'm on the bus, I'm like, don't let no tray get on the bus. Always got a glass on. Where's my glasses? I don't know where my glasses at. Oh, here they go. Honey. I'm using my time for it. Honey, I would be looking out the window on the bus. Baby. What was said? Boy, you silly. But yes, I would be so covered up. And I think once I became, of course, surgeries make you more confident. When you have, if you got your implants, if you got your, when you got your things that, your hormones done got your solid, baby. I got cooking auntie arms. Jiggly wiggly. Once you get these advancements, it gives you more confidence. And also, it's just something that I think that helps you not get clocked. Because think about the cisgender women who have these particular falls. Like there's this woman who I know, she got an Adam's apple, she got a deep voice. She it looks like an Adam's apple. I've seen people and they just be pumping through, but they got kids, and I know they cisgender women, but they just be pumping through like, I know I'm a woman, honey. So I ain't gotta think about nothing. You see girls who are fucking 6'4". There was 2 girls in my high school that play basketball. They were like 6'4", 6'2", and honey, they weren't. I don't know if y'all do it, but I know. So I won't seem tall. Let me see if I can do it. Ooh, do it on camera. So this is. Oh, you can't really see. Let me see if it'll show you. So say that I'm sitting. This is me standing straight. Watch how how far my hands go down when I switch to just standing on just one of my legs and letting my hips fall. You see what I'm saying? If I'm just standing straight up, I'm way up here. But if I'm if I'm on my hip in a certain way, I'm way shorter. Not way shorter, but a distinct difference of short than if I'm standing straight tall. So when I was younger, I would do little things to make me look shorter than what I was. I'm 5'11". So that would take a cute 2 inches off. And when I was standing next to a dude who was 6 foot, it wouldn't be done. It wouldn't be, when I stand next to them, I can make me look shorter than them, even though we're close to the same height. it would make me look like 3 inches shorter than them. And so I would do that on purpose. I would do that on purpose. And I remember there were the girls who were tall, the cisgender girls who were tall, taller than me. Like I remember in college, there was 3 girls in my clique that was way taller than me. But they didn't have the self-consciousness about being a trans person. So they didn't think about their height. They stayed pumping in some heels. Or they might have, but it wasn't rooted in being a man, being a boy. You know, they may have been self-conscious. Them being self-conscious about their height it felt like rooted in being taller than everybody. The way they describe it, it was rooted in standing out. Everybody else is short, and I'm like the tall girl standing out. It's not something that makes them feel less of a woman. It's just they were uncomfortable because I'm so tall, so much different. It's their difference. It's not. It wasn't rooted in their gender identity. So tall women, cisgender women, they're not worried about whether this is gonna clock me. So they have a level of confidence. You see what I'm saying? They have a level of confidence. And once I start seeing people do the confidence, that just have confidence, and I started doing it, like when I would this, I remember it, I knew it was working when my tea would be revealed later on, they would say things like, I might have thought it in the beginning, but you were so confident that I just was like, oh, this is just a deep voice woman. Or they said, I didn't think about it because you were so confident, because you just seemed like a regular woman to me. I wasn't hiding, and it felt like, I wasn't hiding, and it felt like I was, like I just got more passable with my surgeries and with my confidence with my surgery. I was more, passable. Even, let me think, like even on YouTube, I remember, y'all might not notice it, but if you watch some of my old YouTube videos, I cut off like the top of my head on purpose. I wouldn't turn to the profile because to me, from the front, I didn't look much different because you really couldn't see my profile. My clock to me was my profile. It wasn't my front. Like you looking at me, this was all the same. It was like, oh, cute, whatever. But when if you see videos where I was turning to the side, it would give me dysphoria and I would be so self-conscious of it. I was like, damn, I'm seeing a difference. And so that would be something that I was self-conscious about. And so, but as you go along, and I didn't go through FFS publicly. Like, I don't see no videos of when I got FFS. I got it within this 10 years. But you really can't tell when I got it. You really can't tell when I got it, because it didn't really change my visual in my front. It changed my profile, and most of my profile, I didn't do videos at profile angle anyway. So yes. Let me go back and read some of that stuff. Let me make sure I covered all my points that I wanted to cover. How was a hustle? Oh, okay. This is the last one that I haven't covered. I did want to talk about them deepening Candace Cain's voice, but there was a couple of things that they did where, remember when they said they wanted to tell that girl's story and they went to a trans woman to get her to do it, but they said no, because you look too much like a woman. And then they let a cis dude do it. I thought that was shady, but also I thought it was shady when Candace came on screen on Dirty Sexy Money and they had deepened her voice. And it wasn't her voice. They purposely deepened her voice. I was like, what the fuck are y'all doing? Like, y'all are doing a disservice to us. Yes, y'all think y'all making this trans narrative good, but some of us don't have deep voices. Some of us have nice well, I don't want to say deep voices are not nice. But some of us have whatever the stereotypical cisgender woman voice. That's problematic too, but I don't know how to say it in the right way. That's what it is. So, why did you need to change her voice? If this is how she sounds and she's a trans woman, let her sound like that. Why not? Why you are crazy? And if this is a real trans woman, why not have her play it? Why does her looking passable make the difference? If you're letting it known that she's trans, why would you? That seemed like that would be more exciting to see on TV. Oh my God, this trans woman, is passable, especially at that time. That would be more exciting. Cisgender people love a brick. I'm not gonna play with you. I'm not gonna play with you and putting this wall of bricks up. Fuck you. I'm not playing with you, Miss Jordan girl. They do love a brick, honey. They do. They love for you to be clockbox, baby. Not talking your rude voice. Yes, I've heard that too. Yes, I want to talk about this is the last thing in regards to this, because we got 10 minutes. The repulsion. I said in my notes, I was like, the repulsion that they talk about how the dudes throw up, and the dudes, when you reveal you're trans, they get sick and throw up, and how that's training the people how to respond to it in a throw up, disgusting manner or a violent manner. Look, and this might be a place of privilege because I have some prettiness about me. Look, niggas didn't throw up when I told them not to. Look, I that just keep. They might have did it with somebody else, and I may be speaking from a place of privilege. But the girls I knew, and even the ones that wasn't too passable, me and the girls I knew, niggas was not throwing up. Niggas was not throwing up. They was trying to get in some cookies or trying to gobble some meat. That's my experience with the repulsion. Dudes who I revealed my teeth to, I have never, ever, ever had experience where they were throwing up or they were like, ugh, that's disgusting. I've had, that's not really my thing. I never did that before. I ain't really trying to try it. I've had that, but a motherfucker throwing up and like, ugh, that's disgusting. I just haven't experienced that. I haven't, and when I do see that, I see it in a public way. I see it in when I do see oh, that's disgusting, it is when it's in a group of people. But when a dude is by himself and I reveal my teeth by himself, I haven't experienced where somebody was disgusted. I ain't had that. They only throw up when I'm putting my dick in it now. Too deep. But I had no people disgusted. They may be somebody else. There may be somebody else, but that's not me. That's not my narrative. So I don't know about any of that. Violently throwing up, brushing their teeth excessively, burning shit, late and so extra. Yes. Now wait. Now let me be real about a situation. I will reveal this. That never happened to me on my reveal of my transness. But my husband, the very first time he gave me head and I nutted in his mouth, he went to the toilet and was like, throwing up. Because he wanted me to tell him and I didn't. Because you don't tell me, nigga. So, nigga, this is what it is. He gave all of that and went and threw up and did all of that. But it wasn't about me revealing my teeth. It was the first time that he had gave me head, and I guess he had never tasted nut or whatever. And he was being real extra. And, you know, that's what he was giving. I have had that experience. But other than that, I haven't had somebody repulsed to that degree. I've had men angry as fuck when I waited until literally the last minute to reveal my teeth. Last down. Now anger, I've had to experience anger, but not disgust. And I can't really say that I experienced in a private setting violence. Like a private setting and it being about my teeth, I haven't experienced a violent moment in a private setting. Most of the violent moments in my life come from when it's a public revealing. Somebody else tells them. That kind of stuff out in public. Last minute reveal, like down to our underwear making out. I've had to flee a few homes, half dressed. Yes. But I've been in that situation, but I haven't, it wasn't discussed. It wasn't, let me think about LaRose. I don't know. I couldn't tell what he was doing. I don't know. It might have been one situation that I remember where I was trick fucking this dude and he did a reach around real quick and he touched my piece and didn't know. Thank you, darling. Thank you so much. He did a reach around and he didn't know my teeth and he jumped out and went into the bathroom and washed his hands real quick. He did that. But I didn't have time to ask him questions because I grabbed my things and skedaddled. So I don't know. Yeah. So I guess that could be considered one, but that's just one. That's why I don't pay attention to too much to what cishet say in public when it comes to sexuality. No, don't listen to them because they're lying. Thank you so much. Yes. And you get what I'm saying? That was a public situation. Somebody told him my tea and I wasn't tricking him or nothing. He just was trying to holler at me and I was like, boy, gone. And he was trying to prove himself. Men are very difficult when they are alone. It gives split personality. Are very different when they are alone. It gives split. Yeah. I can handle them when they're alone because I can talk. We can talk. I can either talk them down or talk them through it. And so it really isn't a problem. What are your thoughts about the 37-year-old trans woman with the young boy? I actually talked about it on our episode that I just put out on Thursday. So if you want to hear my opinions on her, the Latinx trans woman who was murdered by the 18-year-old high school boy, it's on episode of March's Play. And this Thursday, it just was released this Thursday. No, not try. And Brandon, didn't try to hook up. We did hook up. I had to fight for my life one time after trying that. He clocked me. He tried to get me into missionary. Oh, yeah. I didn't have to fight. He went into the bath. He was like, "What is that?" And went into the bathroom and washed his hands. And when he was coming out the bathroom, I was already had my clothes and walking out the door. So I don't know what he was trying to give. What he was gonna give, I didn't give him a chance to see what's up. He did text me and ask me like why didn't I tell him, but I didn't respond. But he was so I just couldn't. I was young and childish, and he was so fine. And he played for at the time he played. He was in college and he played football for Jackson State, and he went on to play for Notre Dame. And he was just like so fine. I had never met a dude that was a 10 like this. I was like, "Ooh, you're so right. I need to have you." And Oh, he's so fine. Mm. Um, Let me see. That's right. You did hook up. Did you? And he ran them pockets. Yeah, I took his wallet. I took the money out of his wallet in his car because he caught himself leaving it in the glove compartment in while he came in to hook up with me. But I sure took them keys from that ass while he was knocked out drunk and went out to his car and looked for his wallet and took all his money. His mama's rent money. I didn't know it was his mama's rent money at the time. But yeah. Good luck. um Say more about that. Can you find that story? Where can I find that story? I mean, the 37-year-old young person. Gosh, it's a trans woman died like a week ago. Um, a Latinx girl. Um, yeah, it's on Marshall's plate. We talk about it. Recently, a 18-year-old killed her. And they have it on videotape. And he shot her, or there's some weird parts. Like he shot her and then left and then came back. But I don't think that that's true. I think he came back and shot her. Because there was a video that they talked about. There was a video that they talked about where on her phone where it seemed like she had just had him, and he was in the bathroom washing his hands, and they were talking, and it almost like he knew her too. Because anybody who is most trans women are not out here trick fucking. So let me say that. But the ones who are, we know that's what's happening. We're not pulling out our cameras and recording because, girl, no, you don't do that. You're focusing on getting the deed done and leaving. Getting the deed done and leaving. You are not playing no fucking pull out the camera games. Get the fuck out of here. You're right. Yes, you can Google trans woman killed by high schooler. Yeah. Diamond, his mama's with money was trans reparations. Right. Exactly. Oh, okay. I gotta catch that. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, we talk about it on Marsha's Play, and yeah, we discussed that. I thought that was weird. I think it's always weird. There's a lot of narratives where trans women are messing with younger boys. Mm-hmm. I think one, yeah, that might be it. Her name might be Lorena. I don't know. I can't remember her name. But it was recent. So if that's a recent story, then yes, it was like a week ago. That's the name. Selena Reyes Hernandez. That's the name, yes. We linked it in the show notes. So if you're on Marsha's Play, you can listen to that. Okay, let's see. Okay, we 3 minutes over. So if you have not watched Disclosure, go watch it and come watch it and tell me what you think. Tell me what your thoughts was if you have not watched it, and come back and leave some comments. If you have been watching, thumbs up. I see 28 people watching. Everybody thumbs up so we can get past 16. Yes, I feel like this was, I really this took me on a gamut of emotions. I really got really emotional watching it. This is content that I have wished for all my life as a trans person. They really did really good with analyzing history and film. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness. I thought it was going to be the same old whitewashed documentary type deal, but they really got into some deep conversations. Hey, Kaylee. They really had some deep conversations and some great analysis and a great plethora of people represented in the show. I thought it was amazing. And I hope they keep doing this. To me, this is a redemption from that Marsha P. Johnson documentary that was stolen from a trans woman and put out by a white man. I have not watched that documentary because they stole a black trans woman's work, and That Is Shady. And this definitely made up for that failure on Netflix part. The documentary was definitely bomb. I loved it. Loved it, loved it. But yes, I will be back next Thursday, unless something comes out that that I don't know about. Next Friday is going to be, let me see what next Friday is. It's going to be the 3rd. Wait, is it the 3rd? Yes, it's going to be the 3rd. So yes, that will be right. Yes, so the 3rd. So I want to talk about Closure. Closure is one of my favorite movies of all times, and I want to talk about Closure. I'm thinking about American Beauty. I don't know if y'all watch American Beauty. That's one of my favorite movies of all times, American Beauty. But I think we're gonna do Closure on next Friday, unless something comes out that's queer as fuck, and I'll post it on Friday, like I did this one. But thank you for the donation, CMB. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and thank y'all for watching. I really appreciate y'all. Be good.